Every day, like clockwork,
It's almost 10 to 1.
he waits for his ride.
I hear it. There he is. Bang, there he is.
And every day, he's excited about where he's going.
But this is it's a whole adventure. It's a whole adventure.
The first thing you'll notice about Father Reginald Foster is what's missing. There's no frock, no black suit, and no concern for the trappings of the priesthood.
My Lord, deliver us. Look at me. Trappings? No, I don't even have a collar.
Instead, he wears a janitor's uniform. He's not a janitor, but he's very much in maintenance.
Essentials, I say. Even in class, essentials.
What Father Foster is trying to resuscitate
This is too good.
is something that most people consider dead.
Et ad experienda dona, quae novo seculo sunt abenda perducis.
Latin.
Divinitas.
I said, heaven's sakes, this is a living thing. Non habet potestatem.
What these students may not realize is that taking Latin with Father Foster is like learning painting from Picasso or music from Mozart.
That's Latin.
Beneath the outfit of a working man is the soul of a working man.
My father was a plumber, and the whole family are plumbers.
And the mind of a scholar. Foster spurned the family business for a higher calling, joining the priesthood. He soon discovered he excelled at one of the tools of the trade. Father Foster spoke Latin like a Roman emperor, and that talent was noticed and needed at the Vatican, where Latin remains the official language.
After my first year, the Pope's Latinist fell sick. One of my teachers was working in the Vatican, and he said, I think I know the man you're looking for.
Foster was in the middle of a Latin lesson when his tutor stormed in and offered him the opportunity of a lifetime.
And then he came in the classroom, he said, you want to be the Pope's Latinist? And I said, certissime, certainly.
For the next 40 years, every official document that came from the Vatican was either written by his hand or approved with his eyes. The funeral mass of Pope John Paul II, the mass heralding the ascension of Pope Benedict, and the document certifying Jerome Listecki as Milwaukee's Archbishop were all written by Father Foster. But a year ago, he left Rome and returned to Milwaukee
Alter terrarum orbis
to deal with a series of health problems. Now he's recovering and living near family.
It was very providential, though. Very, very providential.
The talent that made him so valuable to 4 popes over 40 years could have him teaching at any university for a nice stipend. Father Foster gives it away, as they say in Latin, pro bono.
Free, completely free, which is amazing. You know, you're sitting with the probably greatest Latinist in the world right now, and free in Milwaukee.
He won't answer to Father Foster, so the students call him Reggie. He's also been called a renegade, a maverick, and an ecclesiastical oddball.
Oh, you see what turned me on?
He's a member of the clergy unafraid to criticize Catholic doctrine.
Half of this stuff, I think, is human creation and human nonsense, that's all. And it is.
His anti-establishment streak hasn't gone over well with his superiors in Rome.
And they said, Foster.
For years, the Vatican tried to get him to toe the line.
They did for a while, and then they gave up.
There was never any serious discipline because, frankly, they couldn't afford to lose him. While in Rome, Foster developed an unorthodox teaching style.
Those are those famous sheets.
He uses a series of sheets of paper that contain excerpts from poets, politicians, and popes.
Bah, look at how they're talking.
Rather than using a rote textbook. So his lessons spring to life with the words of the ancients, whose spirits still seem to flutter in his classroom.
We might have Augustine or Bernard or Vatican II or some encyclical or back to Cicero, Virgil, Horace. Paul. They said, look at how they talked.
Foster is an affectionate but strict teacher.
Read, David.
Quo Caesar.
He says Latin demands discipline and dedication. He makes all of his students sign a tough contract.
So I tell the students, you can take off your shoes or clothes or bring beer or wine in class. I don't care. If you make one stupid mistake, you're out.
And his students in Milwaukee are smitten.
I suggest we have a toast to our beloved teacher, and we're really grateful for your life and your teaching us and for your class.
Jivali.
So beloved is Father Foster that his class took him out for wine, cake, and song on his 71st birthday.
Felix tibi esto Reginalde, hic natalis tibi. Multos annos multoque plures. Ooh.
Nice.
Oh, you can hear it. You know, Latin is always nice.
Most nights after teaching, he returns home and opens a book.
I haven't been bored for 10 seconds in 57 years. And all I have to do, if I feel a little bored, pull out another author, a poet, or history, Caesar.
He wants Latin to survive, yet he laments the long, slow death of the language, and it begs the question. If Latin is dead, which is to say it's not really spoken anywhere anymore, then why is it still important? Why is it still relevant?
Relevant because it's about 3/4 of our Western civilization, for one, and all of our thoughts and ideas, prayers, and all this other stuff has come through Latin.
How do you save Latin?
By teaching it well, because you have to be turned on by Latin. If you teach music well, you'll be converted to Haydn and Mozart. You'll fall in love with the thing if it's presented well.
And like clockwork, he'll teach it 6 days a week. A priest with a passion for language that's timeless.
Across the northeast coast of Japan, mourning unimaginable loss is a part of daily life. Miles from the ocean shore, we found this shrine on the playground of an elementary school where 74 children were killed.
When I stand here, I'm so sad, and I feel sorry for them.
This man was grieving the loss of all 3 of his grandchildren. Ruins of the school stand as a spiritual relic of the loss, and much of what filled these classrooms was never seen again. And all of those objects are supposedly floating in the ocean towards our part of the world. The people here in Japan want us to know that none of that debris is garbage. Those items are sacred.
They are not just garbage or debris. They are personal belongings, so they should be returned because they have their personal feelings in them.
They say any missing reminder of a lost child is important.
They lost their houses, they lost everything by the tsunami, as well as their children. So even just a little pen helps, and they just want to have something personal that used to belong to the children.
But scientists believe the sheer amount of tsunami debris flowing towards the U.S., which could include human remains, is staggering. This computer animation was made by marine researchers showing an estimate of the massive debris field steadily moving east right toward the Pacific Northwest. It'll take years for Japan to sort through these mountains of debris near their shores. We saw some of these mountains 8 stories high. There are far too many crumpled cars to count, and every day trucks bring more. Japanese officials believe millions of tons of this same kind of mangled debris were pulled into the U.S.-bound currents of the Pacific. Building materials, shoes, bikes, anything that might float.
It was just like I was watching a movie.
Yuji Sato saw the fast-moving tsunami dragging away entire neighborhoods. For weeks afterwards, oyster fishermen like Yuji spotted much of what was floating being carried offshore. And clinging to a lot of that moving debris are the very same encrusted sea creatures workers chip off these Japanese oyster shells. U.S. experts now worry some of this sea life native to Japan could be considered invasive in our waters, posing a threat to the future of our local fishing industry. And it all makes Japanese fishermen worry for us.
And
I understand that this debris are making a lot of trouble for fishermen and the people there, and I feel very sorry about that.
Mikado Ando lost his scallop farm, his prized fishing boat, and his home. Like thousands of others, Mikado's family lives in a one-room temporary house. For Mikado, even where there's signs of new life, the specter of destruction, decay, and loss are always in view. Homes are still hollowed out here in Ishinomaki City, where families and children were swept away. Nearly 3,000 people were killed in this town alone. While officials consider how to process what the water pushes towards Washington State, Mikado wants us to respect whatever is found.
We have lots of memories in those things. If they are found and if they are identified, I'll be willing to have it back, and definitely.
Meanwhile, on the school grounds, parents mourning the loss of their children deal with their grief by searching for mementos while trying to help a tsunami-scarred land to heal.
I got another tattoo on my chest, which is my wife's name.
It's just, fun, spunky kind of thing that I decided to do.
Below this in Runic is Rahoa, which stands for Racial Holy War.
Some stories are sealed in skin.
Every tattoo I ever get, it got some type of meaning behind it.
This is permanent. It's never gonna leave me.
This is the kind of the demon of my past.
The plot painted on with pain.
Dolor is Latin and Spanish for pain.
The moral deeper than any words.
The voice is just, it's always been there. And the tattoos, they've been growing on me since I was 14.
But to see the burden Arno Michaels bears, look below the surface.
So, yeah.
This is the character he carves out for himself in the mid-'80s and early '90s.
Well, I got up there and I screamed real loud, and I got people crazy.
Michaels is the lead singer of the hate metal band Centurion at the time. They play in mostly dark bars and basements, any place that permits their drunken, racist ranting.
It was a 7-year keg party with racism and violence.
Back then, he's one of the heads of the Milwaukee White Power movement, a founder of the racist skinhead group, the Northern Hammerskins.
It was revealed to me that white people are my people.
Michael's past is littered with lost lives ruined by racism.
One of them had a .25 pistol.
In 1990, an 18-year-old he'll only identify as Chuck is drawn to the deadly skinhead lifestyle. Soon after, the young recruit picks a fight with a Latino gang, and he's buried because of his bigotry.
He took one shot, and it hit Chuck in the back, and it went right through his heart, and he died on the spot.
The death only enrages the racist crew.
We played it off like, what's this world coming to when a white man can't even walk down the street without being murdered by these savages?
And so it goes for years. The music plays, the booze flows, and hate rules Michael's life.
"20 years later, yeah."
These days, it's hard to envision that violent man in the Centurion video.
How old do you think I am?
He's like 28.
I'll take it.
Now at age 40, you'll find Michaels in a very different place. Here he's laughing in the quiet corner of a Milwaukee inner-city library with mostly minority students.
We literally had blinders up
to deny all this information from the world around us that indicated that other people were as human as we were.
The now reformed racist shares his dead friend's story as a lesson worth learning.
It's really poignant, tragic evidence that hate and violence begets hate and violence.
I thought, oh man, this is going to be scary. This is my meeting with the scary skinhead.
In the school full of like 75% black African Americans.
But he came right through the door and his human warmth, preceded him.
Michael's journey from hardened hammerskin to self-proclaimed peace activist actually begins with more racism.
We felt it was our duty to have white children.
And it's the birth of his innocent little girl that finally makes Michaels feel guilty about everything.
I was like, what the hell did I start here? What am I doing?
So in the mid-90s, he begins leaving the movement he helped mastermind.
As the violence and hatred lost that constant reinforcement, it began to make less sense.
And it's not long before Michaels is left reflecting on the ramifications of the life he lived.
I think about my daughter and how much I love her. And I think of how I would feel if somebody ever hurt her. And then I ask myself, how did that kid's parents feel after you got done with them?
By 2004, the former skinhead finds himself sober, sorry, and with a plan to reconcile his past and save his very soul.
The impetus to begin writing this book was really my own sanity.
My Life After Hate by Arno Michaels is published last December.
It's really a message for everybody, regardless of their age, that decisions you make and the actions you take have consequences.
But writing the book isn't enough. Composing in coffee shops across the North Shore, every keystroke spreads his message through a blog and online magazine, lifeafterhate.org.
When I was your age, I was already cutting out of school.
Pacing back and forth in front of a larger crowd of Kenosha students, Michael shares his shadowy past.
Kindness, not weakness, is about setting an example.
And kindness, not weakness is more than just a catchy phrase for Michaels. It's an anti-bullying program he's launching with former gang member Sammy Rangel, who used to be a Latin disciple.
Two different mindsets altogether, but still so similar on this other side. There were things that just drew us together.
I was really touched by your story, man.
Thanks a lot, man. That's great to hear.
It's like a symbolization of my grandparents.
And that's kind of what I got in my back.
These knuckles had NHS for Northern Hammer Skinheads and a big swastika here.
Today, Michael's tattoos tell the tale of how he turned his life around.
Having them removed hurt way worse than getting them.
He says he's proof every picture, no matter how permanent,
It was a pretty horrible theme for a tattoo.
can be redrawn.
My response is, if you don't believe me, just watch what I do.
So Michaels will just keep using the ugly images of his past.
It's somewhat symbolic of the devil and angel on either shoulder.
To ink what he hopes is a life-saving story.
It's the only reason I can do what I'm doing.
You might call this place
Couple thousand different characters.
a superhero storage space.
700,000 plus comics. Popular superheroes, you could looking at Batman, Spider-Man, Superman.
Superheroes do great things.
They leap tall buildings in a single bound.
He flies off of the back porch.
Faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a locomotive.
He's always been a superhero to us.
With a quick change, this 4-year-old golden retriever goes from canine to Caped Crusader, a purebred blur of gold, a flash of fur you won't find at any comic book stores, though you might say he was born to wear a costume.
The Comet Dog actually is his full name on his birth certificate.
Like every good superhero, the Comet Dog has an important origin story.
It really is a story about anybody who's missing someone they love.
It's a universal truth. Missing someone is hard.
Come. Comet's owner, Bill McGinnis, was looking for a way to deal with life while his long-term girlfriend, Juliana Olson, was in Iraq working as a nurse practitioner.
Certainly never had anybody depart my life through the military.
Balad, Iraq is the hub of all ill and injured transport.
The long hours, the dangerous conditions.
And it's my responsibility to not only receive them, stabilize them, but then also prep them for flight.
Her efforts help save lives, but never enough. Olson recalls one case where a military canine died.
But he defended his owner, his handler, and lost his life as a four-legged veteran and saved the life of his owner.
A moment shaking the foundation of even the toughest citizen soldier.
We're all fighting for our country, but fighting day to day, we're fighting for the people next to us. You know, you're not thinking about yourself, you think about those around you, and you think about your buddy.
I don't think any of us can relate to what they go through over there.
In an effort to keep her connected to friends and family, Guinness gave his dog a super makeover. That gave rise to an online comic book.
The name of the book is The Adventures of the Comet Dog. Missing someone is hard.
He posted pictures of Comet in his super threads and began typing up a story of comfort for Olson, read in between all the casualties.
Well, it helps you escape, because with all the bad in life, there's also a lot of good.
Kind of digital coping mechanism meant for her eyes, and then the eyes of her fellow airmen and soldiers.
I'm like, you have to come see this.
And eventually, people they've never met.
I'd get emails from mothers who were reading the stories to their children.
Including families coping with loved ones in harm's way.
Just heartwarming to hear the impact that Comet was able to have in their lives.
The Comet dog has no super abilities.
Laser eye beams, cape mask.
No special powers.
Cold breath.
But he's still a superhero to many.
His biggest super ability is comfort.
He loves to bring joy to people.
I think everybody has that ability to be that way.
A comic book kind of canine.
Out of 40?
Not sold in stores.
You're welcome. Have fun.